Hi, this is Megan with Beadaholique, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Jewel Loom Beading Loom. And it comes in a box like this, and you'll notice it's flat. So I wanted to go ahead and show you how to use this one because it does require a very basic bit of assembly. But what's great about it coming flat and in this nice little pouch is that it's really easy for travel if you're one of those crafters like myself who can't bear to not bring a project with you when you go somewhere. So it comes flat like that, and then it has a little metal rod. You'll also get an instruction booklet and a needle threader and a needle. And this needle is nice because it's extra long. So when you have a wider piece on your loom, you're going to be able to get through all the beads. So I'm going to put that aside for 1 second and just show you how to put this together. So what you do, you notice that one side has the title on it. It's just raised. I'm not sure if you can see it, but if you have the loom in front of you, you'll be able to tell it says Jewel Loom. And the other side has these little knobs. Those knobs are what you're going to use to secure your thread on the loom. So you want to make sure that's at the back. And then what you're going to do is take the little metal rod and insert one end through one of the little holes. And then it's flexible, the plastic, and you want to gently bend it until you can slip the other side of the rod into the other hole. And it's going to give you a curved loom to work with. And that's all the assembly. It's not a lot of assembly to get it ready to go. To thread this kind of loom, it is very similar to any other standard beading loom. Like I said, you're going to use these little knobs here, so go ahead and tie your thread onto one of them, and you want to go ahead and knot it tight enough around there it's not going to slip off, but don't knot it so tight you won't be able to cut it off later either. Give yourself a little bit of wiggle room there. Okay, now if you've never worked with a beading loom before, you're going to put your warp threads across the loom, and you want one more warp thread than bead. So if you want to do a piece that's 6 beads wide, you do 7 threads across, and you can kind of center. So if you're going to do something narrow, you can work in here. If you're going to do something wider, you want to go ahead and start further over to give yourself enough room. I'm just going to do a narrower piece, just a few rows to show you how it works, and just wrap your thread in the little groove across, and then you're going to go around the knob and back, and you go right to the next groove, and you're just going to continue. If you're going to use a very wide bead, such as a tila bead or a tile bead, you can use you can skip some of the grooves. In general, for seed beads, you want to use every groove, but you can kind of, hold your bead up and gauge if you held it up to see how many different warp threads it covers. You can kind of learn how far you need to space them if you are using a wider bead. Okay, so I have got 7 threads. I'm just going to do 6 beads wide just to show you, so that's enough for me. Go ahead and cut your thread off the spool and leave yourself a little bit of a tail. And now you just want to secure it. And it just needs to be secure enough to hold while you work. So go ahead and make sure it's not gonna just pull right out, and then you're fine. Now the beading needle that comes with your loom, as I said, is a little different than standard beading needles because it is longer. So that will make it really easy for a wider piece. It's not super tiny, so if you're going to use a smaller bead, like an 11-0 Delica, especially if you're using anything smaller than that, you want to make sure that this is going to fit through your bead before you get going. I'm just using a 10-0 Delicas. I know that's going to be fine. So you've got a nice dull point and a really nice long length on these needles here. You can always use a different needle though. You don't have to use the one that it came with. So go ahead and cut yourself a length of thread to work with. I'm using NYMO. I find for a loom piece that I prefer using a basic nylon thread like NYMO or KO. It leaves it a little bit more fluid because there's a lot of thread going through it. Now you will usually need to tie off and add on new thread as you work, and you would do that the same way that you would do it with a off loom piece, and we do have a video on how to tie off and add new thread. So to start, I'm just going to do a few rows to show you. So we're going to go ahead and pick up 6 beads on the needle. Now you can decide how long your piece needs to be. If you want it longer, you're going to go ahead and start all the way at the end to give yourself more room to work. You can slide it a little bit if you end up needing to move it over later. So take your needle with the beads and position it underneath the warp threads. And then you're going to push the needle with the beads up under the threads and get the threads to go in the spaces between the beads. So you have a warp thread to either outside edge and then one between each pair of beads. Now pull over. You want to leave yourself a tail on the end, and I like to leave myself a nice long, like 8-inch tail when I'm doing loom weaving, because you don't want it to pull out. So once you have your beads all set up, you're going to take the needle and you're going to go back through the other way. Now the most important thing here is that when you go the first time across underneath, you want your working thread, which is called your weft thread, the one that's going to go back and forth, you want it underneath the warp thread. And now when you're going back across, you're going to go over. So you need to make sure that your needle is over all 7 of your warp threads as you go back across. And if you miss one, you will have beads fall out, so you'll know, and it's easy enough to pull it out and fix it. So go ahead and pull across. Don't pull so hard that you lose your tail at the end. You just want to pull snug, but not too tight. Okay, and that's your first row. So all you do is continue rows, and you can use a pattern, you can make up a pattern, you can do solid colors, you can just use a mix of beads. It's entirely up to you. I'm just alternating colors here to show you from row to row. And don't get your tail stuck in there. Underneath, and then you're going to go back across over the top. And pull that tight. And you're going to continue that for as long as you want on the piece. And just one thing to mention, I prefer, especially if you have a nice sturdy needle like the one that comes with this loom, I prefer to push my beads into place on the needle and then pull the thread through. You can also, it's perfectly okay to do this way. If you find it hard to hold them in place while you pull the thread through, you can just pull the thread all the way through and then just with your finger position the beads. I just find that the needle holds them in place while I'm getting them where they need to go. It's actually really easy to get them in place after the first few rows. It's a lot easier, so if you're having trouble the first few rows, don't despair. Okay, and that's all there is. It operates just like any other beading loom. And we do have a whole other video on how to finish and back loom weaving. So if you need tips or pointers on what to do with your weaving when you're done, you can watch that video and get a few suggestions on how to do that. But that is how you set up and use the jewel loom.